Yeah, 12. 12 and up. 12 and up for a DC superhero figure. Just for fun. Just for fun. I went ahead and I grabbed a copy, I grabbed my NECA Real Toys Leatherface, the one that's still in its slightly yellowing packaging. And I took a look here. It says, warning hazard, small parts, not recommended for under 3 years of age. They're afraid you're going to swallow the armadillo, but some psycho wearing a mask made of other people's skin, that's fine. Hey, friends and revolutionaries! Kind of here between storms, between some thunderstorms that have coming through the area. we had a kind of a pretty serious set of storms come through, and they're saying there's more coming. So I figured that during this break, you might hear some thunder, and you might hear the rain come down, but hopefully we won't lose power. Hopefully we're going to get through. But yeah, figure we take some time and take a look at the first. This is actually going to be the first of the ever-present Mcfarlane toys. They're showing up everywhere. Mcfarlane toys, DC Multiverse figures that I'm going to be cracking open. So I've got several of them, but this is the first one that I am actually going to be getting open from the DC Multiverse. And we're going to be looking at the Batman from -11, Earth -11. Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, the DC Multiverse, that's the different realities, everything from Batman Beyond, the animated series, the WB series, the mainline comics. Each of them are considered to take place in a different universe, in a different reality. They're all true in a different reality, which I always thought was cool. I thought, with all these WB shows that are out, wouldn't it be great if they did like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit thing where we got the Justice League, the animated Justice League series kind of animated into the live action? I mean, let's do that. Let's really do a multiverse crossover where we do a Who Framed Roger Rabbit or a Space Jam. And let's get some of those animated heroes into the real world settings. That would be cool. That would be cool. But yes, this is the Batman from Earth 11, or -11, let me say. This is not the Earth 11 that you may be familiar with. Earth 11 being the Earth where the mainline heroes, all the gender of the heroes is swapped. So rather than having Power Girl, you've got Power Guy. Instead of Wonder Woman, you've got Wonder Guy. Instead of Superman, you have Superwoman. And instead of Batman, well, we still get Batman, but it's actually Batwoman. And in this case, this is the Batwoman from -Earth 11, because DC does not know how their universes work. So you've got your mainline multiverse, you now have a negative version of it, there's the antimatter universe, and assuming a negative version of that. So right now there are at least 4 different universes in what is essentially a multiverse already. It's already a multiverse, but no, we have to have a negative multiverse. DC does not know what they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing. As a fan, I hate it, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're taking a look at the figure, which, as I mentioned, the ever-present Mcfarlane packaging. The black boxes, or I should say the rectangular boxes, they're not always black. There's that one Spawn figure that's in the red, that Mandarin Spawn in the red. The Warhammer figures aren't really black. They're more kind of a steel gray color. But it's all the same kind of rectangular shape with, articulation at the top. Again, a banner on the bottom kind of saying what franchise it's from. On the side, in this case, it'll actually tell you it is from the Dark Knight's Metal series, here and here. So you kind of know what storyline it's trying to depict. Large window here so you can see the entire figure. That's kind of cool. Inside, you can kind of see the trading card. For each of the DC figures, a trading card comes with it. And the backdrop is a various montage of DC comic covers and panels, so on and so forth. On the back, there is a larger version of the card that it comes with. And there is the Batman from Earth 11 with the Drowned, her undead army. The Dark Water, I'm guessing. And one thing I do like on the DC figures at least, is that the card that's here usually has a reference, almost like when you go to a museum. There's actually a reference to where this is from. The source, which in this case is Dark Knight's Metal Comics 2017. Doesn't reference a specific comic. Many of them do, not in this case, but I do like there is the source that they're drawing from. I like that. I do like it. It says collect them all, like their Pokemon. There's the Batman, the Robins from Earth 22, Infected Superman, Deathstroke, and Batman from Arkham Knights. Arkham Knights. It is amazing. Actually, it's amazing how that game is still generating figures. How figures are still being generated for that game. And one of the other things is the age recommendation. 12 and up. 12 for a DC superhero figure sold at your local Walmart and Target. 12 and up. That's crazy. That's 4 years short of driving. That's over half as old as you have to be to drink. 12 and up. Sometimes on figures, it'll say, not recommended for so-and-so and this and that because of. There's actually an explanation for it. No explanation here, just 12 and up. For some really weird reason. It's something where I don't get it. Why is a comic book character 12 and up? It's not for small parts. That's only 3. Why would they do 12? I don't know. But yeah, that's just taking a look at the packaging. Let's pop Batwoman, Batman Negative Earth 11, Batman 11, whatever you want to call her. Let's go ahead and pop her out of the pack, take a look, and have some fun. Be right back. Alright, we've got the Batman from Negative Earth 11 out of her pack, and appropriately enough, the rain is really starting to pour now. Before I get too far into talking about the figure, I do want to take just a few moments, skip ahead if you want, but I do want to take a few moments to go on a slight rant when it comes to the Mcfarlane figures. I've mentioned it so far with the Mcfarlane toys that I've taken a look at, and being the DC Multiverse is going to be the line that we're probably going to see the most videos on. There's going to be several of these that I'll be doing, many of them. I want to say this, I want to get it out of the way now. I'll probably mention it in every video, but I really want to take a chance here and just say that Mcfarlane Toys does set just an amazing bar when it comes to the figures. I mean, when it comes to what this figure has to offer, if you take a look at the sculpting, like for example, on the mask, on the cowl, the hair, the jacket, and not so much on the skirt thing, but yeah, and even in the boots to a certain extent, but particularly around the jacket and the mask, it is really impressive sculpting. It is really good, but that's what I've always come to expect from Mcfarlane Toys. They do a fantastic representation of the character. The paint apps, for the most part, are very good. The paint apps are actually pretty nice. Everything has its own coat of paint. Kind of carries throughout. The only area that has a little bit of an issue is the overspray on her medallion, or her bat medallion. But the color around her lips, the color around her eyes, you know, the small points, the metal for the eye holes. No issues. No issues. The amount of articulation, which we'll get to, just, again, the bar that is set by McFarlane Toys is, it blows me away. That being said, these are not the figures that I really think belong on the big box shelves. Yeah, I mean, price-wise, they get amazing quality for the same retail price as your regular 6-inch, or in this case 7-inch figures. You know, it's really, really great what you can get from McFarlane Toys. The problem I have, though, is the fact that this is a quality of figure that strikes me as something that we would see, that we'd be more likely to see out of what DC Direct would do had DC Direct continued. Had DC Direct not been shut down and they were still manufacturing figures, this is kind of where I think those figures would have come out. Because it's a great figure, high bar, unique character. This is not one of the mainstream characters that I think that we would normally see from someone like Mattel. So very much kind of screams DC Direct, but it's available at your retail stores, and it's just, I don't know, it doesn't seem as hard wearing. You know, I've mentioned the plastic that that McFarlane Toys uses, and in the case of the hair and her skirt thingy here, it's a much softer plastic to, you know, let things move. The jacket itself, again, softer plastic, but something about the rest of it, something about the more solid parts seem fragile. Not hard wearing, not of action figure quality. It just seems like this is highly breakable. Let's go ahead and get into more detail on it, and I'll point it out as we get there. But, you know, taking a look here, you know, the head, it's on a ball joint. It has, you know, as much range of articulation as you could expect. More even, considering there's a collar and her long hair. So McFarlane Toys really found a great way to keep longer hair close to the body, but not really limiting, you know, its movement too badly. It won't go up and down a whole lot. There is a little bit, but not a whole lot. The arms do come up and out. Twist at the shoulder, at the top of the bicep. There's a double joint at the elbow. There's a twist at the wrist. There's a hinge at the wrist. Oop. Let me get it lined up right. There's a hinge at the wrist. And then there's even a twist on the hand. So outside of the twist on the wrist, there's also a twist at the hand. Which makes sense, because that's where the hinge joint pegs into the two halves of the forearm and the hand. So both those two pieces can twist for some extra articulation. Cool. It feels like, because her bodice seems to be a softer plastic, it seems like there's a crunch in there. It's not very strong, and I don't really know if you would count that as a point of articulation, because it won't hold. But it definitely seems there's something in there, some kind of hinge in there. Unless it's broken, and I can't tell. There is a twist at her waist. So her waist does have a twist. Trust me. Legs come up a bit, out a bit, and here's where I want to start to bring things up. You know, it doesn't come up or out a whole lot. Not nearly as well as the articulation that we would get from a Mattel figure or a Marvel Legends or something of that nature. Much more strict on the articulation. And that's not unusual. It's not unusual for a figure to be sculpted or to be designed in such a way that there is some limitation on the articulation by itself. So I'm willing to forego that, to see what happens with other figures. But the joint as is here, not all that much. There's a good amount, I guess. I don't know if you'd really need a whole lot more. But not the best joint up here. No twist of the thigh, no twist where the boot is. There's a double joint at the knee. And this is the second part that I want to bring up, which I found is true for Mcfarlane figures. I think it's because of the material they use right now for both these two knees. The top joint is frozen. So a frozen joint on a Mcfarlane figure is not unusual. It happens almost every time I open a Mcfarlane figure. It's going to have a frozen joint. To me, that's unacceptable. That you should never have a frozen joint on a figure that is meant for, well, it's an action figure. It's something sold in the toy aisle of your Walmarts, your Walgreens, your Targets. That to me that's bad. And again, it's what separates it from the DC superheroes, DC Universe, and DC Direct. To me, it is not the same class of figure. It's not to say it's bad, but it's just not that action figure kind of thing that I want. Going on the rest of the articulation here, there is a hinge at the foot. There's a twist, and then the toe. And that's probably all off camera again. Foot, hinge, toe. And then, of course, she has her base, which I do always recommend, with the DC emboss logo on there. And that's another thing, too. When it comes to the action figures, very rarely, in the mainline series of toys and figures, did we see bases. We would see the bases on the DC Directs. DC Direct usually always had a base. But in this case, this is another indication that it really comes off as something more than. And not always in the best of ways. If this was a line of figures that you would find at your comic shop or in the specialty shops that the DC Direct figures usually were, I would completely, I think it would be right at home. For Targets and so forth, I don't know. I just don't know if this is the kind of figure that I would be expecting. I would want something maybe a little different. And again, it could just be this particular figure. Some of the other ones that are out there, particularly the animated series, the ones that are based on the animated series, the Justice League Unlimited and so forth, those I am very willing to believe may be very different. But in this case, looking at the Batman from Negative Earth 11, her figure really comes off more as a DC Direct figure, less of an action figure, more of a showpiece, more of a collector's piece for DC fans that just know the comic, know the character, and want it in their collection. Not for a toy collector who likes to take their figures off and play with them. It's not. But again, I don't want to trash the figure because it is a great figure. The colors, the translation from the comic. I mean, taking a look at the card. Again, there's that portrait that was on the back of the box. It's nice to have as a card. I think a trading card is actually probably appropriate. I would have liked it to have been in a series of cards, actually made a trading element to it. You know, the one of the character, and then possibly a duplicate, or you know, 2 or 3 other random cards, so that you can trade with friends. I think that would be actually very cool. Such as it is, you only get the one. And again, the close-up of the character saying Batman, Earth -11, Dark Knight Metal, data file, source, Batman, The Drown, #1 comic, 2017. There's your source. Bryce Wayne, height 5'11", weight 160 pounds. Bryce Wayne of Earth -11 harbored a deep hatred of Atlanteans for their role in the death of her beloved Sylvester Kyle. Sylvester, Selena, Sylvester, get it? In a quest to avenge Kyle, she spliced her DNA with that of Atlanteans, becoming a superpowered Dark Knight called the Drowned, capable of breathing and fighting underwater. And that's it. So yeah, I mean, I like the trading card element to it. I really do. I wish it had been more of an actual, like, pack of cards where you can actually get that trading element involved. But yeah, I think that's cool. I think that's probably the best kind of inclusion with character write-up that I've seen. Something that I would expect from a DC Direct figure. Her only other accessory is the Trident, Aquawoman's Trident. And nothing particularly impressive about it. It's got kind of that goldish paint. Kind of got the Atlantean style sculpting on there. It's just a smooth handle, which, as I mentioned in one of my previous reviews, isn't really the best way to go about it, because depending on the hand that it's going to be in, it could be prone to sliding in and out of the hand. That doesn't. She holds it pretty well. A little texture on the handle, a little wood grain maybe or something, that wouldn't go amiss. But overall, I've got to say, if you are a fan of the DC Multiverse, particularly if it's Batman related, if you are a fan of anything Batman related in the Multiverse, these Mcfarlane toys, this is a dream come true for you guys. For me, I'd like to see a little bit more from some of the other characters. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I would say that for my first Mcfarlane DC Multiverse character, I think this is a good one. I think this comes off really, really well. Setting aside the DC Direct comparison and waiting to see what some of the other figures are like, I would say if you have the chance to pick her up, you'll probably be pretty happy. But tell me what you think. Let me know what you think about it. Tell me how you feel about Mcfarlane figures kind of coming in and being kind of the mainstream large box store producer of DC characters. It's kind of this middle ground between Mattel's DC superheroes and the DC Direct line. What do you think? I'm kind of on the fence. We'll have to see. It's going to depend from figure to figure. But in the meantime, hope you enjoy watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, join the revolution. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.